Hello YouTube, I am Nathan Martin with the Divine Pollination Hive, and I would like to talk about internet trolls and comment moderation. If this is something that interests you, stay tuned. We like to encourage objectivity. There are typically multiple points of view from which any set of events can be viewed and interpreted. Openness to a range of insights from multiple points of view and a willingness to question one's own point of view are crucial to objectivity. Objectivity is achieved to the extent that one has studied a wide range of perspectives relevant to an issue, obtained insights from all of them, seen weaknesses and partiality in each, and integrated what one has learned into a more comprehensive, many-sided whole. Each should serve to correct exaggerations or distortions in the others and to add facts not highlighted in the others. This is by Richard Paul and Linda Elder in The Thinker's Guide for Conscientious Citizens and How to Detect Media Bias and Propaganda. Our videos are meant to encourage an objective dialogue. We're trying to provoke your thinking. Dialogical thinking, thinking that involves a dialogue or extended exchange between different points of view or frames of reference. And that's from criticalthinking.org, the glossary of terms. This is very important. We really want to get you guys thinking. We want to get people thinking in general. We don't want to come to conclusions for you, although we might share some of our conclusions. What we'd like to do is provoke your own thinking so that you can kind of get there on your own. When you get there on your own, you're going to actually have what's called reasoned judgment. You're going to have knowledge and understanding that's personal to you because you thought yourself there. It wasn't just told to you in a class. I didn't tell you what to think. I'm not a teacher telling anybody what to think. I'm not telling anybody what to believe. You already have your beliefs. Now, your beliefs can be founded or unfounded, but it is up to you to go within and go into this inner dialogue and start examining those things so that you can figure out your beliefs on your own. Trollers, why do they troll? Well, they're matrix agents. That's what I see them as. And they consciously or unconsciously attacking free thinkers. They do this to spread misinformation, to stop or slow legitimate information. They would like to disrupt logical dialogue and discourse. They're arrogant, judgmental, and proud. They do it for energetic and psychological dumping or transference. Anger transference, shame transference, guilt transference. Whatever they actually don't want to hold on to, they're going to dump it onto others. And they find easy victims, people who are thinking, who are really open. When you're open to learning more, when you're open to discovery, you're going to actually attract these kinds of people that want to psychologically dump on you because you're open. If you were closed, you wouldn't have this coming to you. But when you're open, you do. Psychic vampirism. This is where, with the energetic and psychological dumping, they're actually taking energy from you. Their goal is to get you into a power struggle. It's like a child. When a child tells, oh, Dad, why are you doing that? My friends don't do that. Their parents aren't like that. What they're trying to do is they're trying to get you into a power struggle. And once you go into the power struggle, you've already lost. They're now starting to drain you. They don't care if they get in trouble. They don't care if you yell. In fact, if you yell, all the better. Because now they're actually getting something from you. They're getting attention. They're getting energy. This is called psychic vampirism. Another reason is ignorance stemming from social conditioning and soft mind control. They're puppets. They really don't know what they think. They don't know what they believe. They've been told what to believe. They're ignorant. They don't know how to think for themselves. They don't know how to critical think. They're monological thinkers. They don't know how to be multilogical. They don't know how to process multiple perspectives and layers to be objective. They're just ignorant. And lastly, to fit into the overall popular group and or dogma, such as social justice warriors. They don't really care in so much as they want to be accepted. And they have such a need to get approved of that they're going to take on these social justice causes. And sometimes maybe it's defending the matrix of some sort. It's defending a group. And one of those groups can be the matrix itself. But these social justice warriors, they don't really have an opinion of their own. They're just trying to fit in. And so they're going to attack and they're going to troll just so that they can feel like they belong to something and get brownie points. Are they reasonable people, though? Reasonable people are emotionally balanced and intelligent people. Those who get angry and attack you for your lack of empirical evidence and demand proof are wearing the persona of rationality while lacking its substance. One form of being judgmental stems from a narcissistic defense mechanism called flipping the script, where the judge narcissist puts people on trial who are raising good questions or objections to certain behavioral tendencies or situations. They so badly need to avoid their own shadow side that they will project onto those around them in judgmental bias and unreasonable attacks, and may even do so preemptively without provocation. This is sometimes called shadow projection. Those with the real concerns are now unreasonable ones, while the narcissists now have the power and seem reasonable. Those who really should feel bad for their actions don't, and those who shouldn't do. It isn't judgmental to stand up to and call out poor behavior, but it is judgmental when you flip the script. So these people that come in that are very judgmental, they're being judgmental. They're attacking. They're seeing the good ideas, or they're seeing the people asking questions, and now they're going to start attacking for all those reasons listed above. For the judgmentalness, the pride, if they're a social justice warrior, if they're shame transference, or they're transferring their anger or other unresolved feelings. All those reasons they're going to go and attack because they don't want to see themselves in that way. They only want to see what's good about themselves. They're narcissists. Emotional intelligence refers to a person's ability to remain logical in the face of obstacles that would otherwise trigger them into irrational behavior. It is not the suppression of their feelings, but rather the effect of having processed their emotional baggage, childhood traumas, and limiting patterns of relating. Intelligence and rationality are the product of emotional balance and not its antithesis. The mastery of one's emotions always leads to an increase in logical behavior while still valuing the feelings of others. Psychopathy, however, is a counterfeit version of emotional intelligence, where a person is so damaged emotionally as to have divorced themselves completely from their emotions. This workaround gives them a form of logic devoid of feelings, allowing them to coldly calculate each action, but without consideration for the well-being of others. This is solely self-serving rationality, as it is detrimental to those who might be used as a resource or those who might oppose them. So these people who are hyper-rational, they're demanding empirical proof and evidence, and they're so angry, they're not emotionally intelligent. They are the antithesis. They're the opposite of. They're psychopaths. They're damaged goods. Their emotional intelligence is extremely low, and so they have this hyper-rationality that lacks any kind of emotional balance. I always say that emotional intelligence and logic go hand in hand together like math and physics. If you look at physics as being comparable to emotional intelligence, and you look at math as being comparable to logic, they go hand in hand. One needs the other to really thrive. When you don't have the other, then you're going to have a lack of balance. You need both. They go hand in hand. They help each other. Fact, opinion, and reasoned judgment. When critical thinking is introduced into the classroom, and very often it is not, it is often approached monologically. For example, by having students divide a set of statements into facts and opinions. Unfortunately, a taxonomy that divides all beliefs into either facts or opinions leaves out the most important category, reasoned judgment. Most important issues are not simply matters of fact, nor are they essentially matters of faith, taste, or preference. They are matters that call for reasoned reflection. They are matters that can be understood from different points of view through different frames of reference. We can, and many different people do, approach them with different assumptions, ideas and concepts, priorities, and ends in view. The tools of critical thinking enable us to grasp genuine strengths and weaknesses in thought only when they are analytically applied to different perspectives in dialectical contexts. Dialogical and dialectical experience enables us to develop a sense of what is most reasonable. Monological rules do not. Monological, by the way, is one-dimensional thinking. Multilogical is multi-layered thinking. Dialogical thinking is the ability to dialogue, and dialectical is the ability to argue through an issue, to synthesize it and come to a higher perspective. This was an expert taken from an unknown book found on criticalthinking.org. The chapter is called Dialogical and Dialectical Thinking. I provide a link in the information section below. Social justice warriors. I find it incredible that so many people have become so disconnected from their own intuition and logical faculties that they will defend a fabricated narrative that defies their own observations made with one or more of their five senses. As long as the fabricated narrative lines up with public consensus, the accepted authorities' party line, manipulated statistics, or any other thing that makes them feel accepted and approved of by the most powerful groups, they'll buy into it. These people will ferociously attack even the most logical and sound arguments with vile tactics, while they act dismayed that anybody could possibly question what they've been conditioned to believe as true. They do not think, aka ask questions, nor do they have an actual opinion based on logical precepts. They just have the illusion that they do while they parrot media talking points with ad hominems, appeals to authority, sweeping generalizations, appeals to the consensus, begged questions, strawmen, flipping the burden of proof, and other major logical fallacies. They are the modern-day religious zealots who worship at the feet of statism and mainstream science. Thinking is the rarest commodity of all in our current societal landscape. Tricks of the troll. Ad hominem fallacy. They love attacking character of people. You're an idiot. You're so stupid. I can't believe you believe this. Why would you even talk about something like this? Have you read what you just wrote? Are you an idiot? Are you stupid? These are just ad hominem attacks. They're attacking the person's character in an attempt to re-traumatize them and traumatize them out of thinking, to traumatize them out of critical thought. They are trying to prevent the ability to break free from the matrix, and they use ad hominem fallacy. They're not arguing the actual points. They're not going into and looking at the points from a critical fashion. They're not going into a dialogue. They're not going into a multi-logical discourse. No, they're just attacking the character of the person giving the argument. The burden of proof fallacy. You have to prove to me this exists. No, actually, we don't. I don't have to prove to you anything exists. It's not my job to prove to you. It is your job to think yourself to your own conclusions. It is your job to examine what you see as the evidence, to go out there and do the research, and then let me know about your opinion so that I can consider it, enter into a dialogue with me. But demanding that I prove it to you is the burden of proof fallacy. The burden of proof does not lie on me to actually prove things such as the Mandela effect, consciousness causes matter, all these other things are true, because this is actually a part of my own reasoned judgment. Now I can give you my reasons, and I often do on my videos. But that does not mean that I have to answer to you to prove to you that it's true. That is the burden of proof fallacy, and it is used so often, especially by the hyper-rational types. It is a very big logical fallacy. It is an error in logic. Dishonest debates, double standards. A lot of these trolls, they're not going to go into an honest debate. They're using a double standard. They're not applying the same rules to themselves that they're going to use and apply to you. They don't actually have any rules for their debates except for win, and they will win at any cost. So it's very dishonest because they're going in there and they're going to attack you, knowing that you are self-reflective, that you are actually going to question yourself. You do question yourself, but they don't question themselves. They don't actually challenge their own assumptions. They don't challenge their biases. They don't challenge their emotional attachments. They don't try to understand the underlying reasons why they think and believe and behave and feel as they do. And because of that, they don't have those same rules that we have. And then they're going to say, well, you need to challenge your assumptions. You need to, prove this and prove that. But they're being very dishonest. They're using a double standard. Another thing that they're doing is they're raising nothing but objections. They're just going to continue to object time after time after time, and no matter what you say, they're never going to be happy because they don't want to actually believe it. They don't want to consider your perspective. They are not able to enter into a multi-logical dialogue. They can only raise objections. They want to win. They don't want to understand. They don't want to know. I will talk about this more in a little bit. Guilt by association fallacy. This is the argument where you're going to associate one thing with another, and because the two are linked in a discussion, that they must be the same thing. This is typically called throwing the baby out with the bathwater. They're going to make a sweeping generalization about something like, because you're religious, and religious people are zealots, all religious people are zealots, therefore you're a zealot. And so there's this guilt by association thing going on, and it's really kind of going also with a sweeping generalization. Another example is because I'm spiritual, and I am a hermeticist, they're going to say, well, you are spiritual, therefore you're religious, therefore, you can't be trusted. Well, spirituality or esoteric spirituality and exoteric spirituality are not the same thing. That is still the guilt by association fallacy. They haven't differentiated the terms. They've kind of made a generalization there. The appeal to authority fallacy. The appeal to authority fallacy is where the authority says something, it must be true. Science says. Statism says. Statism is a religion. Scientism is a religion. These people, they worship at the feet of scientism. They worship at the feet of statism. And anytime their authority says something, then it must be true. And now they're going to attack anybody that goes against that. Really, it's just a modern day inquisition by religious zealots. They themselves are the religious hypocrites. This is that dishonest debate thing and double standard again. They're actually appealing to authority because they're religious zealots. Lastly, a monological debate with a narrow scope and no desire to be objective or integrative with the content of the discussion. They don't desire to actually learn from it. They have a very monological, one-dimensional view of what it is, and they are going to defend that one-dimensional thing with tactics that are one-dimensional. Their scope, their perception is very, very narrow, and they can't open up to the multiple perspectives because their perception is one-dimensional. Their perception is not multi-dimensional. So they often go into monological debates, and a monological thinker having a discussion or an argument with a multilogical thinker is not going to work out very well. Dialectical thinking best works with two people who are multilogical because now they're not trying to win the argument. It's not a courtroom where that is one way of doing a debate. It is more of a dialogue so that the two views can be synthesized into a higher form of knowledge, a higher understanding for everybody involved. Everybody's considering the perspectives of everybody else in a multilogical dialogue. And we're taking what works and we're getting rid of what doesn't work. But we're not trying to win. So a monological person debating with another monological person, that can work for them. But a monological trying to discuss something with a multilogical, the same rules don't apply. It's not going to work. A little bit on the ad hominem again. Ad hominem, Latin for to the man or to the person, is a logical fallacy in which an argument is rebutted by attacking the character, motive, or other attribute of the person making the argument, or persons associated with the argument, rather than attacking the substance of the argument itself. Hypocritical double standards. Skilled manipulators, psychopaths, narcissists, and unskilled thinkers may attack fair-minded individuals who express their uniqueness and individuality, especially if they are questioning the officially accepted narrative of a societal norm or event. One of the attackers or trolls' favorite tactics is using the double standard, where they project their manipulative mindset onto their prey and poke their prey for a supposed lack of fair-mindedness, while they themselves are remaining closed-minded, either because of a conscious agenda or from an unconscious emotional attachment and bias. In such situations, it is important for the fair-minded individual to recognize the projection and double standard, verbally call out the infraction, and refuse further dialogue until which time the double standard is resolved. We are under no obligation to dialogue with or defend ourselves against the accusations of conscious and unconscious manipulators. Dirty Trick 32, Raise Nothing But Objections. There's a book, The Thinker's Guide to Fallacies, The Art of Mental Trickery by Richard Paul. And in this book, he's kind of giving all these different dirty tricks that people use. So he's coming from the perspective, if you want to be a good manipulator, this is what you do. But he's helping people kind of see through manipulative tactics. So it's kind of a clever little way he wrote the book. So he says, your opponent is giving good reasons to accept an argument. But the fact is your mind is made up and nothing will change it. Of course, you don't want to admit that your mind is closed. Skilled manipulators respond with objection after objection after objection. As their opponents answer one objection, they move on to another. The unspoken mindset of the manipulator is, no matter what my opponent says in giving me reasons, I will keep thinking of objections. The fact is that nothing whatsoever will convince me of the validity of his view. So this is important to realize that a lot of people, really, their mind is already made up. They're closed-minded, and now they're projecting onto people their closed-mindedness. Anonymity encourages trolling. A person's true colors will often show themselves when they do not have the filter of trying to be a nice person to gain approval or favor of another. Just like in dating, where people will place their best foot forward to impress their new date, but over time they eventually show their true character. Anonymity encourages people to show their true character from the beginning, and it's not always a pretty sight to behold. Controllers. Troll is contained within the word controller. Knowingly or unknowingly, trolls serve the agenda of the hidden elite controllers of our world. They are agents in service of the matrix control system, both physical and hyperdimensional. Like Yoda might say, feed the troll you should not. To remove our own reactivity, which internet trolls feed on, we need to learn how to process our emotions. Trolls are able to detect and poke our susceptibilities, and once they get us to react, a power struggle ensues. We cannot win a power struggle with them, as they automatically win once we engage them in the power struggle in the first place. We win by removing our emotional susceptibilities to reacting and defending ourselves. This is why we developed the unity process. The unity process utilizes Jungian shadow work, Socratic questioning, the 7 Hermetic principles, the trivium method of critical thinking, and the emotional freedom techniques, or EFT meridian tapping, to examine our core beliefs and perceptions that shape our daily experiences. We improve the quality of our experiences through regular self-reflection, especially when we experience an emotional trigger that would ordinarily cause us to project and blame in judgmental manner. In this way, we remove the log from our own eye, rather than attempting to remove the speck from the eyes of others. The comments section on our videos is a safe place where people can dialogue, reason, and discuss ideas. Questions are encouraged. Sometimes dissenting opinions will cause emotional upsets, and this is perfectly fine. Additionally, some people have better reasoning skills than others and are better able to present their ideas. This too can be a cause of friction when 2 people are not at the same ability to reason and they attempt to interact. This is expected. Comment moderation. Comments from overt internet trolls will be immediately deleted and the user hidden from our channel. When somebody posts a comment that could be considered unconscious trolling, we may attempt to enter into a dialogue. If they remain unreasonable, their comments will be deleted and they will be hidden from our channel. We are under no obligation to provide free speech to those that purposely seek to harm and degrade us. It is within our rights as individuals to place boundaries where they are warranted. Boundaries are not telling others what to do, but letting them know how we will respond should they attempt to cross into our personal space. Boundaries are a healthy contributing factor to emotional intelligence, individuality, and personal sovereignty. If you enjoyed this video, please click like. If you're not already a subscriber and are interested in our videos, please subscribe. If you have any comments or questions and would wish to enter into a dialogue or contribute to the dialogue, please put them in the comments section below. I'm Nathan Martin with the Divine Pollination Hive and the Unity Process. Be safe, be sovereign, be well.